Welcome and thank you for coming to our clinic. Today we will be discussing carbohydrate counting. This video's purpose is more about instructions on how to count the carbohydrate. So I will try to make this as fun as possible. Either your doctor or nurse practitioner or healthcare provider has you here today to learn how to read food labels and how to count carbohydrates. So we're going to dive right into that and go ahead and get started. First thing that I would like to say is that at the end of today's video, you will see your healthcare provider. So today does count as an appointment. So after the video is over, please do not leave. You will still have your appointment with your healthcare provider. And at that point, you can ask questions about medications or whatever. And so just please don't leave. The second thing is that this is a video, so you can stop it, you can replay it, you can watch this multiple times if you have to. Especially if you don't understand how to do something, you can always, pause it and rewatch it again, however have you. Also, the third thing that I'd like to say is that you will likely get some educational materials passed out to you today to take home to look over as well. You will probably also get some log sheets too, and we'll go over that at the very end. So with having said that, let's go ahead and get started. So no matter what you like to eat and no matter what you like to drink, the first thing your healthcare provider is going to want you to do is find your food label, find it and look at it, and let's read it together. So let's just pretend for just a second here that I have a food label. It looks like this is for macaroni and cheese. And so really anything that we buy at the grocery store, almost anything we buy has a food label. And we will go over food items that do not have a food label here in just a minute. But to start with an easy one, like if I buy a box of macaroni and cheese or a box of cereal, the food label is usually located on the side or the back or the bottom. So that's the first thing that we want you to look for. Now, when you find it, just like here on the screen, it says start here, always start at the very top of the food label where it says serving size. And this particular cup of macaroni and cheese, the serving size is actually 1 cup. The number that you see here, the 228G, that is the weight. So you don't have to weigh your food or anything. So your serving size is 1 cup. After I know that I'm going to have 1 cup of macaroni and cheese, the next thing that I look at is something called total carbohydrate. And it's usually in big black bold letters located in the middle of the label. So this particular label has 31G or 31 grams of carbohydrates. So it's just as easy literally as 2 steps. So if I have 1 cup of macaroni and cheese, then that means I have 31 grams of carbohydrates. One thing I do like to mention is that this macaroni and cheese is not for every macaroni and cheese that you eat. So if I buy a different brand of macaroni and cheese, I would still look at my serving size and I would still find my total carbohydrates because every macaroni and cheese is different. But for this particular kind or this particular brand, 1 cup equals 31 grams of carbs. Just for fun, if I have 2 cups of macaroni and cheese, then that means I would double this number and I would have 62 grams of carbohydrates. Another way to interpret this, if I have a half a cup of macaroni and cheese, then I would only have about 15 or 16 grams of carbohydrates. The next thing that I usually get asked is, why didn't you talk about sugars? It says 5G here. Well, the sugar is already included into the total carbohydrate, and that's why they call it total carbohydrate for a reason. So if you are just really busy and quick looking at the label and you quick to see sugar and you see 5G, please don't look at that because that doesn't necessarily mean that it's low in sugar or high in sugar. The most important one, again, is your total carbohydrates. This is the number here, 31G, that will alter your blood sugar reading every time. Different sugars are also located in the label here. Sometimes you'll see it in fine print, like below the label as well. Again, you don't have to worry about those. Just find the words total carbohydrate, and again, your number is 31 grams. Another question that I get asked all the time is, you didn't really talk about fiber. How come you're not minusing the fiber? That's another good question. With this particular food label, as you can see, the dietary fiber is 0 grams, and most of the time, our fiber in a lot of our foods, there's not a lot of it, except for, we'll talk about fruits and vegetables later. But for this item, there's no fiber, so I'm not going to minus 0 from 31 because it's still 31. So, but if this had like 2 grams of fiber, then it would be like 29 grams of carbs. You don't really have to do that. It's not significant of a big difference to do something like that. So just to keep things very simple, step number 1 is just, again, find your serving size, which is 1 cup. And then my total carbohydrates is 31 grams. Again, if I am really hungry and I don't want to have 1 cup, I have 2 cups, then that means I have 62 grams of carbs. Again, if I have a half a cup, then I'm going to half this number and make it 15 grams of carbs. So for more fun, I have another label here just for more practice. Again, same thing. Always start with your serving size. My serving size here is 2/3 cup, and my total carbohydrates is 37 G. So this one has total sugars of 12. Again, please do not add 12 to 37. They already did that for us. Again, it has 10 added sugars. Don't add 10 to the 12 and then again to the 37. That's not right. All you have to do is find 2/3 cup, and my total carbohydrates is 37 grams. So we've been counting here. We counted this label. It's easy, 31 grams for 1 cup. This label here is 2/3 cup, 37 grams. So usually the next question is, well, how much carbohydrates am I supposed to have? I don't know the difference between 31 versus 37. How much am I supposed to have? Well, I am so glad you asked. This is carb counting for per meal is what I'm trying to say. So when we ask you to count your carbs, we want you to count per meal and not per day. So I'm going to give you the averages, and these are the averages. This doesn't mean that you have to do this or that you need to do it or that you must do it. So men average about 65 grams of carbs per meal. So that would be 65 at breakfast, 65 at lunch, and 65 at dinner. Women average about 45 grams. So we are allowed 45 grams of carbs at breakfast, another 45 at lunch, and another 45 at dinner. Some people say, hey, that sounds like a lot of food. And some people say, hey, that doesn't sound near enough. So whatever number that you're counting at home, that's perfectly fine. We just ask that you simply count it. Your healthcare provider today, after today's video, they will tell you specifically how much carbohydrates they want you to have per meal. But we do want you to know the average, just for fun. So men, again, it's 65 grams of carbs per meal, and women is 45 grams of carbohydrates per meal. Snacks, we are obviously allowed to have snacks, and snacks are about 15 grams of carbs per 2 snacks a day. So again, if you are a man, then it's 65 grams at breakfast, 15 grams for a snack, 65 grams for lunch, another 15 grams snack, and then another 65 grams of carbs for dinner. Women is 45 grams at breakfast, 15 grams for the snack, another 45 grams at lunch, 15 grams for another snack, and then another 45 grams for dinner. And so again, these are averages. You might be going a little higher, you might be going a little lower, and that's perfectly okay. We just ask that you just simply count your carbs, and we'll talk about how to keep a journal here in just a second. But these labels are, easy. Just find your serving size, 2/3 cup, and again, my total carbohydrates is 37 gram. So now that we know kind of the average, let's say that I have 2/3 cup. So that means I would double that, and I would eat 74 grams of carbs. And as a woman, I pretty much blew it really with doubling it. And, even at 37 grams of carbs, this product is considered high in carbohydrate. for a woman, because again, our average intake is around 45 grams. So I don't have many grams left over to put on my plate if I eat 2/3 cup of whatever this product is. So on to the next, just for fun, we're going to practice like in real time and to go over some, popular brands. I added several labels on here just for fun. But when you're in the grocery store, we want you to look at all the brands, and we want you to look at the serving size. We want you to look at the total carbohydrates, because this is where shopping is going to be a little bit different. And it may even be fun for you to compare different carbs and different products and things like that. And you'll find healthier items, and you'll find certain items that are going to be very high in carb, like Pop-Tarts, for example. Serving size here is one pastry. And we all know that Pop-Tarts come to the packaging. So be very careful. That's why I have this label here, because they will alter the serving size to make the carbohydrates look like they're low. So that's why we always want you to start with the serving size first. And this one just happens to be one pastry. So if I only have one, then that means I have 34 grams of carbs. But if I have two pastries, which is how they're packaged, then really I would have 68 grams of carbs for this particular type of Pop-Tart. The other thing that I like to mention with this label too is, you look at the front of the label or the front of the box, it may say something like good source of calcium, or 0 gram trans fat, or light, or whole grain, or low in calorie, or whatever it may tell you. And I really ask for people not to pay attention to that, because I always want you to pay attention to what your label is telling you, and not what the front of the box is telling you. Some of this stuff can be very misleading. Okay, so we're going to go and practice another one. Here is Truvia. Truvia is a artificial sweetener, or whatever you want to call them nowadays. Again, the serving size is one packet, and that is that little packet that we put into our coffee. My total carbohydrates is 2 grams. So you could consider this very low in carbohydrate, but typically this will still alter the blood sugar reading. So if you put, say, like 4 packets in your cup of coffee, then that means that you actually have 8 grams of carbohydrates. And if you put creamer in your coffee, then you have to count the creamer that you put in your coffee as well. So any form of carbohydrate, whether it's 1 gram, 2 gram, or something like a Pop-Tart, 34 grams, is going to alter the blood sugar reading. So that's why we want you to always look at every single food label, really, no matter what. So for fun, again, Splenda, no calorie sweetener. Just because something says no calories doesn't mean that there's no carbs. So when you see the serving size here, it says 1 packet. The total carbohydrate says less than 1 gram. I typically count this just as a solid 1 gram. It's not 0, but it's not close to 1, but I just count it as 1. So if I put like 4 or 5 packets in my coffee in the morning, then that means I have about 5 grams of carbs, because this will alter the blood sugar reading. As you look at the ingredients here, these are all different types of forms of energy, different types of forms of sugar. So I usually, before I go on to the next label, people ask me, well, what kind of sugar am I supposed to have? You talked about artificial. And so I'm natural. I do all things natural. So I have honey. That's all I do. I put honey in my coffee. I put honey in my oatmeal. I put honey in my tea. And I hear that all the time. But I want you to be aware that honey is very much full of carbohydrates. So if you choose to use honey, then your serving size is 1 tablespoon. And my total carbohydrates is 17 grams. So if I put 2 tablespoons, we're talking, a pretty good ample part of carbs in whatever you're putting your honey in. So just because something is natural does not mean that it's low in carbohydrates. So that's why I put this label here. Another fun one is Coke. It looks like this is 1 bottle of Coke. It's probably like here it is, a 20 fluid ounce Coke, and it's 65 grams of carbohydrates. So if I have a bottle of Coke with my dinner, as a woman, I pretty much already blew my carbohydrate intake with just this bottle of Coke. Pepsi, I had to put this one up here too. My serving size is this 12-ounce can, and my total carbohydrates is 41 grams of carbs. So the next question I usually get is, what kind of sugar do I need? Because I'm used to getting sugar from Coke. I'm used to getting sugar from, Splenda, or sugar from Pepsi. And that's what I'm supposed to do, right? Not really. We ask that we should get the proper form of sugar. So to answer this question a little bit better than what I just did, I go over the food pyramid. And this is I call it the old school food pyramid. This is the one that I learned when I was in school long ago. And as you can see, the first thing up here that we should use sparingly is sugar. And this sugars here is the sugars that are in the honey and the Coke and the Pepsi and stevia and Splenda and all that, all that kind of stuff, cakes, cookies, cupcakes, pies, candy, apple pie, things like that. So we want to use this type of sugar, oils, and even the fats, use as sparingly as possible. And really, I try to encourage none at all. So to answer the question, where we should get our sugar from is from our complex carbohydrates, which is down here on the bottom. And that's why we're supposed to have a good size servings of that at every meal. So complex carbohydrates are things like your brown noodles and your brown rice and your brown bread and your brown tortilla and your brown crackers. The other form of sugar that we should have is the obvious ones, fruits and vegetables, whether you do that fresh or frozen. And people say, well, I crave sugar and I want sugar. Well, that's perfectly fine, but we want you to get sugar from your complex carbohydrates here and from the fruit and the vegetable. And when you start introducing these groups back into your body, you'll want to get rid of these groups up here. Another reason why I have this food label here is because it gives us a look about what we should put on our plate. So you want one of these on your plate for breakfast and one of these on your plate for lunch and one of these out of each of these 5 categories on your plate for dinner. So I will go to the next slide here because this is kind of what I'm talking about as far as these 5 food groups. You have your complex carbs, your fruits and your vegetables, your lean meat, and your milk. And I'm not sure why that disappeared, but it's back. So go back to the plate. You have your complex carbohydrate, your fruit, your vegetables and your fruit, your lean meat, and your low fat or non-fat dairy. A lot of people are allergic to certain types of dairy products, and we are not asking you to eat or drink anything that you could be allergic to. It's just here for example purposes. But if you do like dairy, we ask for low fat and non-fat dairy. Be aware that everything in this food pyramid has carbs in it. This category, this category, this category, and obviously this category, except for your protein. Protein is usually carbohydrate free. Your chicken, fish, turkey, cow, pig, those are just protein. So it's simple. So if I have scrambled eggs and bacon, it's carbohydrate free. But we do encourage lean meats like chicken, fish, and turkey, not necessarily meats from the cow or meats from the pig, because there's a lot of fat marbled into those animals there. The other reason why I use this food pyramid is because, as you can see, there's no food labels on a banana or broccoli. So food labels can be found at calorieking.com. So for example, if I am curious about how much carbs is my banana that I ate this morning, I will go to calorieking.com, and this is a free website. There's no login, there's no password, there's nothing like that you have to use. And you can type into their website literally any food item that you want, and everything comes up, not just carbohydrates, but calories and things like that. So we're going to try to do that right now. So let me try to pull this up here real quick on, here we go, calorieking.com. So here's Calorie King. Just type in Google. If you have a cell phone, you can use Google. Obviously, if you have a cell phone, you can download Calorie King's app. They used to have a free one. I think it might still be free. Years ago, I had it on my phone, and I think they have a version that does cost money, but I usually just use Google. So we'll go to their website, and here I can type in lettuce. This is fun because a lot of people think lettuce is completely carbohydrate free. But if I'm making a salad, I will use iceberg lettuce. And again, your serving size, you have to be able to type in here and know what your serving size is going to be. But if I have 1 cup, then it's only 1.6 grams of carbs. I don't want you to count lettuce as 0, because I usually don't have only 1 cup of lettuce in my salad. It's most of the time 3 cups or so. So if I have 3 cups of lettuce, then that is roughly 5 grams of carbs. And if I put tomatoes or cheese or croutons or cucumbers or even ranch dressing or anything that I put in my salad, I have to count it. And you will be very surprised that most of the time the salads can come up very high to about 40, 45 grams of carbs. So just be careful, be wary, and whatever you're making, always count every product that you put on your plate. Another one just for fun, we talked about banana. I like to do banana as well. And you hit enter, and it'll ask me, is this a raw banana? And I will say yes, but I'm going to have a small banana, is 22 grams of carbs. But if I have a large banana, because this is typically what is sold at Walmart or Publix, and it's 31 grams of carbs. So if I'm going to have a large banana, I should not eat the entire banana because that is a lot of carbohydrates. So I should either quarter this or half this and, freeze the other, portion of it later and make a smoothie out of it later. So that's how you use Calorie King. It's one of my favorites. I've been using this for many years now. They also have a book, and hopefully we can find the book for you. We might have some available today. We may or may not. Just make sure that you ask one of the staff in the office. The other thing I like on this website as well is that they have popular brands that we're used to. I'm not promoting these brands by any means, but just for fun. Goodness, Dunkin' Donuts is my favorite. So I will go to Dunkin' Donuts all the time. And they have so many to choose from. It's hard to even look at this, but this actually is what my kids get all the time. So is one small strawberry is 57 grams of carbs, and that's pretty high in carb there. Next, we are going to go over how to keep a diary or a blood sugar log, but really this is the resources that we want everybody to use. Is, as crazy as I'm going to sound, is the internet. If you are making things from scratch, you can always use this website. As I just did here, I made a salad from scratch. If I'm going to make something like cornbread and I need cornmeal and I don't have a label, then I will use whatever close that I have here. Here's yellow cornmeal, and 1 cup of cornmeal is 107 carbs. So if I'm going to make like cornbread from scratch, I usually have 2 cups of cornmeal because I have a big family and I have to make a bunch of it. So 2 cups of cornmeal is roughly going to be about 214 grams of carbs, plus some buttermilk is like 24 grams of carbs that I put in there, or a little less. A couple of eggs. I might even put some actual corn in there or jalapeno peppers, whatever that I'm going to make my cornbread with. Sometimes I even fry the cornbread and then I'll bake it. However I do it, my grand total of my cornbread is usually like 250 carbohydrates, but that is for the entire batch of cornbread. It's not for my serving. So if I have my entire batch is 250, then half of it is 125 The other half is 75, and like the half of the 75 is roughly about 35 grams of carbs, and that is usually the slice that I will cut out of that for myself to eat. So, you know, flour and corn meals are very high in carbohydrate, very high. So when you're the point of what I'm trying to say is this, that whenever you are at home cooking from scratch, that's you can still count your carbs cooking from scratch. You just have to be able to use your labels and use your, you know, your internet, your resources as much as you can. It might be a little backwards because you're starting with a big number and then you have to divide down to your smaller portion size of whatever that you're going to eat. So, okay, now let's get back to the how to keep a diary. And let me pause this for a second. I'm going to try to pull it up. Okay, so let me share this screen again. And okay, I hope I did this right. This is the log sheet here that we share with all of our patients. This will be provided to you today. Grab as many as you need. If you do not like the way that this one looks and you want to keep your own diary, like say you have a notebook or say you have an app or you have like a continuous glucose monitoring system, that's all perfectly fine. But if you don't have any of those, you can be more than welcome to take some of these home with you. This is where you would write your name, your date of birth, and then the date. And then here is like 4 o'clock in the morning, here's noon, and here's all the way to midnight. And so we put every time on here because we don't know when you wake up. We don't know when you have to be at work or school or, you know, when you go home or at night and go to bed. So we just put every time on here. It doesn't mean that we want you to, you know, fill out every single box on this page. But like this morning, I woke up at 9 o'clock and I checked my sugar. It was 109. My carbohydrates, I wasn't the best eating my carbs this morning. I didn't really eat till about 11 and I had about 15 carbs, but then I ate at noon and I probably had about 65. So again, not the best example. Insulin, I didn't take any this morning, but if I did, I would have written it down here underneath the time that I take it. Other means any other medications, like if I'm on a certain pill for my diabetes, I will, you know, write that down here to let the healthcare provider know that I took it that morning or even that night or whatever have you. Um, Here, the boxes are tiny and we have them small for a reason because we don't want to know that this morning I had a cup of coffee with a bagel. That's, you know, that's great, but we want you to actually write down the carbs. And so that's why the box is small. So keep as many days as you can. We ask some people to keep 2 or 3 days. And then I have some people I ask to keep for weeks. For me, it just depends, especially those that were still trying to adjust their medications. So every time you come to the office to see your healthcare provider, usually the first thing that we're going to ask is, "Hey, you know, what is your blood sugar? What have you been doing lately?" And this is a quick way that you can just give to us. So we can look at it really quick. And this is like day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5. So this is like a 5-day quick look on your sugars, your carbs, and of course your medications. Again, if you do not like this log sheet, you don't have to keep this one. You can make your own log sheet. You can do whatever is easiest for you. And just bring it really to every appointment. If you have a continuous glucose monitoring system, you know, bring that to every appointment. If you have a phone app where you record everything on your phone, no problem. Just bring that to every appointment as well. So really, I am done with this instructional video. We didn't really go into why are carbs important and things like that. That's not the purpose of today's video. We just simply want people knowing how to count the carbohydrates and how to keep a diary. Today, your healthcare provider will go over how to take your medications and what time to take your medications and what to do with your medications and things like that. So again, like I said in the beginning of the video, please do not leave. You do have an appointment with your doctor today or your healthcare provider today. So please make sure you see them. They should also be giving you some materials to pass out. So if you didn't get any, please ask. and we will go from there. Other videos will likely be coming our way as well. We might go over other videos in the future on salt and fat and calories and things like that. So just ask about other possible videos and see if we have any more. Thank you.